Hey everyone, welcome back. And today we are doing our monthly educational video. This time, as you can see it is on butterflies. Butterflies I'm sure everyone enjoys because they're just wonderful, fluttery, colorful, just beautiful. We'll also be talking about caterpillars and the chrysalises or pupas also, so it's all going to be a little bit intertwined. But first, what is a butterfly? I'm sure everyone probably can see a butterfly and know it's a butterfly, but butterflies are winged insects, of course. They're characterized by their large and often brightly colored wings that are often folded together when at rest and out when fluttering in flight. And the oldest butterfly fossils have been dated to the Paleocene around 56 million years ago. Through molecular evidence, it suggests that they are likely originated in the Cretaceous period. So, scientific classification. We're going to try to go over this. So, they're from the domain Eukaryota, kingdom Animalia, phylum Arthropoda, class Insecta, insects, order Lepidoptera, clade Ubtectomera, superfamily Papilionidata, and then families, there are quite a few different families here. And then as you can see behind me here, I do have a picture of different types of butterflies. These, of course, are not every single butterfly in existence, but just a small assortment of them. So, for life cycle, okay, I'm sure everyone in science class or some point or anything else have probably seen the life cycle of a butterfly. But if not, here's another picture of one. So, butterflies, of course, have four-stage life cycle. So, the winged adults will lay eggs on a food plant on which their larvae, or the caterpillars, will feed. Then the caterpillars will, of course, hatch and then grow, sometimes very rapidly. And when fully developed, they will pupate into a chrysalis. So then, when the metamorphosis or the chrysalis is complete, everything is done, then the skin will split apart, and the adult insect, the butterfly, will climb out and expand its wings to dry off, and then flies off. So, butterflies in their adult stage can live from weeks to nearly a year, depending on the species. And then many of these species have long larval life stages, while others can remain dormant in their pupal or egg stages, thereby surviving winter. So, certain species have longer caterpillar stages. Some can last long amounts of times. Some only a couple weeks. Same for the chrysalis or pupa stage. And like I said there, sometimes they will pupate over winter, so they'll stay and hibernate. And then, as you can see, I do have the picture here of the butterfly life cycle. So egg, caterpillar, pupa or chrysalis, and then adult butterfly. So, host plants here. Okay, I will move myself as I come to show these pictures. But anyways, host plants are the plants that the butterfly will lay its eggs on. Usually it's a plant that the butterfly caterpillars will need to eat. Certain caterpillars can only eat a single host plant, but others have many and multiple host plants. So some of them being like the milkweed, which is the host plant for the monarch butterfly. There's also spice bush, passion flower, dill parsley fennel, pipe vines, willow trees, pawpaw trees, ash trees, sassafras trees, thistles, nettles, clover, aster, and coneflowers. This is nowhere near a complete list, but if I had a complete list, we'd be going over this all day because there are tons and tons and tons of host plants. Like some butterflies, like the monarch, only go on milkweeds. Then there are some, like I think the painted lady, that have like 300 different host plants. They can basically live on basically anything. And then if I move myself over here, so if you look at my cursor here, I will point out the different things. So this right here is thistle, okay, pointy purple flowers, stuff like that. Then if you look down here, we have milkweed, which actually has some monarchs on it already. Then here we have the purple flowers here, which are asters, which I think asters can come in a few different colors. And then right next to me here, we have dill, which is again another host plant. All of these are host plants that I have listed here. Um, like I said, could not put every single one of them, but this is a good amount. This is a good amount. So let's first start out with the first life cycle or first stage of the life cycle of a butterfly are the eggs. So if you look at the top here, we have some eggs here. These are yellow and then they are like laid very close together. They are not always placed this close together. Sometimes they can be laid one at a time. Sometimes they're green, sometimes they're brown, different colors, whatnot. Butterfly eggs are protected by a hard, rigid outer layer of shell called the chorion, and they are lined with a thin coating of wax, which prevents the egg from drying out before the larvae inside has fully developed. Each egg contains a number of tiny funnel-shaped openings on one end called microphyles. The purpose of these holes is to allow the sperm to enter and fertilize the egg. Eggs vary greatly in size and shape between species, but are usually upright, finely sculptured. Some species lay eggs singly or others in batches. This picture up above, of course, it is in batches. And then many females produce between 100 and 200 eggs. So they can usually produce a lot of eggs, but most of the eggs do not end up, like, some eggs might not hatch, and other times they might hatch, but the larvae will die or be eaten. And then we have another picture here of more eggs in batches here. These are black and they look like flat, like almost sand dollar shaped. Butterfly eggs are fixed to a leaf with a special glue that hardens rapidly. As it hardens, it contracts and deforming the shape of the egg. Butterflies in the genus Agathymus do not fix their eggs to a leaf. Instead, the newly laid egg falls to the base of the plant. Then the egg stage lasts a few weeks in most butterfly species, but the eggs laid close to winter usually go through a diapause or resting stage where they'll hibernate and hatch next spring. So, caterpillars, okay? If not the best form of them, the butterfly probably being the best form, caterpillars are probably the next form that people know about. Butterfly larvae or caterpillars usually consume the plant leaves and spend practically all of their time searching for and eating food, usually the leaf flowers or sometimes the seeds of the host plant. At the end of each instar or larval molt, the old cuticle will split and the new cuticle will expand, rapidly hardening and developing pigment. So basically, as the caterpillar grows up, it will molt or split and then it will become larger. Caterpillars have a short antennae and then also have several simple eyes. The mouth parts are adapted for chewing with powerful mandibles, and caterpillars have 3 pairs of true legs on the thoracic segment and up to 6 pairs of prolegs arising from the abdominal segments. The prolegs have rings of tiny hooks that are engaged hydrostatically and help the caterpillar grip the substrate. Although most caterpillars are herbivorous or eat like plants, a few species are predators and eat scale insects, while some eat ant larvae. The large blue species of caterpillar actually trick a red ant species into taking them back to the ant colony where they then will feed on the ant eggs and larvae. So then we have a picture here of a caterpillar, okay? So we have the front filaments, the thorax, the abdomen, rear filaments, and then, of course, the head here next to the front filaments. It has the true legs here. Set of 3 jointed true legs have claws for gripping. We have the prolegs here. And then we have the spiracles, which are holes through which a caterpillar breathes. Then if you look down here at the bottom, we have frass, which is the caterpillar poop. Then some caterpillars will have eye spots here, which are eye-like markings used to deceive predators. So after the caterpillar has eaten all it can, it's gotten really big, it'll go through holometabolism, which is also called complete metamorphosis, and it is a form of insect development in which four life stages: egg, larva, pupa, and then adult. Metamorphosis is a biological process in which an animal physically develops, involving a relatively abrupt change to the animal's body structure through cell growth and differentiation, often accompanied by a change in nutritional source or behavior. Basically, the animal changes quite drastically, like the caterpillar to a butterfly. And then also it changes what it eats. Whereas the caterpillar would eat leaves, the butterfly would instead eat nectar. In some species, this prevents the larvae from competing with adults because they inhabit different ecological niches. So this is a good thing so that butterflies and caterpillars are not eating the same food and competing with each other. That's basically what it's saying. Animals can be divided into species that undergo complete metamorphosis or incomplete metamorphosis, or no metamorphosis at all. So, this metamorphosis is done inside the pupa, or the naked pupa, often known as the chrysalis. So, when the larvae is fully grown, hormones such as PTTH, the name is there if you want to, are produced, and the larvae will stop feeding and begin wandering in quest for a suitable pupation site. So, most of the tissues of the cells of the larvae are broken down into the pupa as the material is rebuilt into an adult butterfly. So, basically, it turns into a goo, a liquidy goo. And then the pupal wings will undergo rapid mitosis, absorbing a great deal of the nutrients. And a fun little fact here is if one wing is surgically removed early on, then the other three wings will grow to a larger size. And then I do have a picture of a pupa up here. So, this begs the question, okay? So, if the caterpillar turns into goo or a liquid inside of the chrysalis, then can a butterfly remember the experiences it learned as a caterpillar? Well, there is a scientific study that people did, okay, some researchers, that I ended up coming across. So researchers trained a caterpillar to dislike the smell of ethyl acetate, which is found in nail polish remover, and it gave the caterpillar a little electric shock every time they smelled the chemical, whenever they brought the chemical around. So, they let these caterpillars transform into adults, and then they tested them again to see if they still remembered to stay away from the ethyl acetate smell. And the result was that most of them actually did remember to avoid the smell. It remembered the electric shock it got whenever it remembered smelling it. So, this begs the question, what exactly is left over whenever it turns into a liquid? And I guess it would be some sort of brain, like a nervous system, would still be there for it to remember it. So that's kind of a cool little scientific thing they did, even though the caterpillars had to get a little bit of a shock. So then finally, we have gone through the egg, we have gone through the larval stage of a caterpillar, and we have gone through the pupa stage, the chrysalis. So now we are at the adult butterfly stage. So the surface of both butterflies and moths are covered by scales, each of which is outgrowth from a single epidermal cell. The head is small with large compound eyes, capable of distinguishing flower shape or motion, but cannot view distant objects clearly. But they also do have good color perception. The antennae are composed of many segments and have club tips, and sensory receptors are concentrated on the tips and can detect odors. Taste receptors are located on the palpals and on the feet, and the mouth parts are adapted to sucking, and the mandibles are usually reduced in size or absent because they don't have to chew up anything. Then there is a tubular proboscis, which is curled up at rest and expands when needed to feed on nectar or sometimes pollen. So the thorax of a butterfly is devoted to locomotion, and each of the three thoracic segments has two legs. The second and third segment bear the wings. Then the abdomen consists of 10 segments and contains the gut and genital organs. So here we have the anatomy of it. So you can see some of the stuff I was talking about. So you can see the proboscis here, which is at the very mouth of the butterfly. You can see the compound eyes, the antennae, The thorax, which is kind of like the body or the torso of the butterfly. Then you have the foreleg, big leg, and hind leg, and then the abdomen there with the spiracles used for breathing. Then we have the hind wings and the forewings, and then the wing veins. So the body is divided into three sections: head, thorax, abdomen. Thorax composed of three segments, each with a pair of wings. Most family of butterflies have antennae that are clubbed, unlike those of moths, which are thread-like or feathery. The long proboscis can be coiled when not in use, and then let out when sipping nectar from flowers. So let's look at the wings a little bit, because the wings of the butterfly are like probably the best known part of it. So butterfly adults are characterized by their four scale-covered wings, and I do have a picture of the scales on the wings here. Their scales give butterfly wings their colors. They are pigmented with melanins that give them black and browns, uric acid derivatives, and flavones that give them yellows. And then many of the blues, greens, reds, and iridescent colors are created by structural colorations produced by the microstructures of scales and hairs. So that's kind of how the colors are made. The leading edges of the forewings have thick veins to strengthen them. So you can see a vein right here. And the hind wings are smaller and more rounded and have fewer stiffened veins right here. These are the hind wings. Then the forewings and hind wings are not hooked together, as you can see here. They're kind of overlapped. And the newly emerged butterfly needs to spend some time flattening its wings or inflating its wings with hemolymph, which is kind of their blood, and then letting them dry, during which time it is extremely vulnerable to predators. So right after it comes out of the chrysalis, it is very vulnerable until it can finally inflate its wings. And they dry. And then on this picture up above, you can see a little bit more of a breakdown of how the wings are like broken down, I guess. But we're not going to go over those. So, reproduction of butterflies. So, reproduction, of course, is usually done like there's a term for how some do it called hilltopping, where males of some species will seek hilltops, ridges, or like high tops, where they'll patrol in search for females. All butterflies will do some sort of this where they'll patrol an area in search of females, usually tall areas. It is assumed these landscape points are used as meeting spots to find mates. Courtship is often aerial upon involving pheromones, so they'll usually fly around courting each other, trying to find each other, and usually let off pheromones. Butterflies then will land on the ground or on a perch to mate, and it takes place tail to tail and may last for minutes to hours. And I do have a picture up above of them connected at the tail. Then the males will pass a spermatophore to the female to reduce the sperm competition. He may cover her with his scent also, or in some species, they will plug her genital openings to prevent her from mating again. So, a little bit more in depth there, but yes. So, food. So caterpillars will, of course, we've talked about, they'll eat leaves of the host plant, and then some will eat ant larvae. Butterflies, on the other hand, can eat stuff like nectar, most of them will. Some will eat pollen, tree sap, rotting fruits. They'll sometimes go on dung, decaying flesh to get dissolved minerals, and also will sometimes get dissolved minerals from like mud or wet sand or dirt or stuff like that. Several species of butterfly need more sodium than is provided by nectar and are attracted to the sodium and salt. And they'll sometimes land on people attracted by the salt and human sweat. And then I have a picture here of a caterpillar eating a leaf. And then you can see the proboscis of a butterfly going into a flower getting nectar. So there's also a behavior called puddling, which is where an organism will seek out nutrients in moist substances, such as rotting plant material, mud, carrion, which are dead corpses, and then they'll suck up the fluid. More unusual sources come from blood and tears, and they extract the sodium ions and amino acids from these sources to aid in reproduction. Then I have a picture here of a butterfly puddling in a puddle. So, butterflies will also go through basking, which butterflies can only fly when their temperature is above 27 degrees Celsius or 81 degrees Fahrenheit. So, when it's cool, they can position themselves to be exposed, their underside of the wings, to the sunlight to heat themselves up. And then, if their body temperature reaches 40 degrees Celsius or 104 degrees Fahrenheit, they can orient themselves with the folded wings edgewise to the sun so that they'll get less sunlight. So basically, when they're cool, they want to maximize their surface area to the sun, and whenever it's very warm, they want to minimize it. Basking is more common in the cooler hours of the morning, and some species have evolved dark wing bases to help gather more heat. And then I have a picture here of two butterflies doing different basking techniques. Like this one right here, the blue one, is of course trying to get more sunlight, whereas this one here has its wings folded up, trying to get less sunlight. So, butterflies and caterpillars, of course, all have their own predators. Butterflies are threatened in their early stages by parasitoids or parasites, and in all stages by predators, disease, and environmental factors. Parasitic wasps can then lay their eggs inside the larvae or caterpillars, and then it will devour the host. That is a picture here I have. So this caterpillar is already dead. Then predators of butterflies include ants, spiders, wasps, and birds. Caterpillars are also affected by a range of bacterial, viral, fungal diseases, and only a small percentage of butterfly eggs laid ever reach adulthood, and some of them don't even hatch. So, to kind of help their help them survive, I guess, they go through mimicry and camouflage. So, the giant swallowtail caterpillar resembles bird droppings, and of course, birds are not going to go after bird droppings. So, that's a very good camouflage technique. Some caterpillars will even rear up, waving their front ends, which are marked with eye spots as if they were snakes. Then some, like the oak leaf butterfly and autumn leaf, are remarkable imitations of leaves. As caterpillars may defend themselves by freezing and appearing like sticks or branches. So basically, if you're a caterpillar, you can't really do much other than act like something that a bird or other animal does not want. So, one of these species is the viceroy, or the viceroy butterfly. So, its host plant is the trees in the willow family, so willow trees. And you can see a picture up above. I have on the very far side here is a caterpillar, kind of looking like bird droppings. Same with the pupa form, the chrysalis. And then the viceroy actually resembles a monarch. So it ranges through most of the United States as well as parts of Canada and Mexico. It was long thought to be a Batesian mimic, which is a harmless species that evolved to imitate warning signals of a harmful species like the monarch. But instead, it is now thought to be a Mullerian mimic, which instead is two or more species that have come to mimic each other's warning signs to their mutual benefit. So basically what it is they thought that the viceroy was not toxic like the monarch was, so it was mimicking a monarch to not get eaten. But they've actually figured out that the caterpillars of the viceroy also sequester an acid in their body which make them bitter and upset the predator's stomach like the monarch. So they're both toxic. The wingspan of Viceroy is around 2.1 to 3.2 inches, and their chrysalis again resembles bird droppings. The Viceroy's wing color ranges from tawny orange resembling monarchs in the north to the dark mahogany resembling queens in the south, and they will change its color depending on if there's a higher population of monarchs or queens around them. So if there's a higher population of monarchs, they'll try to look like a monarch. If there's a higher population of queens, they'll try to look like a queens. So, pretty dang cool. So, we've already talked about some of these defenses here, but camouflage and mimicry, of course, Then we have aposematism, which is aposematic signals, which are beneficial for both predator and prey since both avoid potential harm. This is advertising by an animal to potentially make the predator not want to eat it. These signals can take the form of coloration, sounds, or odors. So the monarch, or also the viceroy, will be very colorful, of course, and then that makes it so the predator, like a bird, will not want to eat it because it is toxic. So these signals are used because the stuff like the monarch is toxic. This is because whenever the monarch is a caterpillar, it will eat milkweed. Milkweed, of course, is toxic, so whenever the caterpillar eats the milkweed, it will sequester the plant toxins in its body. And these will stay to whenever it is a butterfly. Then also flight. Flying more bumpily or unpredictable will also help them be more hard to capture. Some caterpillars have also hairs or bristle structures that provide protection, while others form dense aggregations or clump together. Then the eye spots on wings are also used to distract predators, kind of like the eye spots on a caterpillar. So, since we talked about the monarch a little bit, we'll talk a little bit more about them. So, I have a picture here of a monarch caterpillar, chrysalis, and then also of an adult butterfly monarch. The host plant of a monarch is, of course, milkweed, and it's the state insect of Alabama, Idaho, Illinois, Minnesota, Texas, Vermont, West Virginia, just to name. Those are most of them, if not all. And among the most familiar North American butterfly. But the monarch also ranges from southern Canada through the northern South America. Also found in Bermuda, Cook Islands, Hawaii, Cuba, other Caribbean islands, the Solomons, New Zealand, Papua New Guinea, Australia, Canary Islands, Portugal, Philippines, Morocco, and also appears in the UK sometimes by accident. So it's basically a large percentage of the world. And its wings feature an easily recognizable black, orange, and white pattern with a wingspan of 8.9 to 10.2 centimeters or 3.5 to 4 inches. It was the first butterfly to have have its genome sequenced, which is pretty cool. And they typically lay between 300 to 800 eggs over a 2 to 5 week period. And then they will lay these eggs singly and not in batches. So like one per leaf or maybe one per plant or something like that, not like a whole bunch of them on one plant. The males are slightly larger than the females and have a black spot on a vein on their hind wing. And you can see a picture here behind me if I can move just a little bit. But this picture here, of course, we have a top here, we have a male, and you can see the black spots here. And then a female on the bottom, which is slightly smaller and does not have the black spots. So these spots on the butterfly contain scales that produce pheromones that are used during courtship. Then adults of this species, monarchs, typically live for around 2 to 5 weeks during their breeding season. And then after they get done breeding and stuff like that, the newly hatched ones will then fly down south and usually overwinter in like Mexico, California, along the Gulf Coast of the United States, and then also sometimes year round in Florida and Arizona. So they will go up north to Idaho, Illinois, Minnesota, Vermont, stuff like that. But then they will have to move down south because it gets too cold for them. So the larvae feed exclusively on milkweed and consume the protective cardiac glycosides. The toxin levels in the species vary, and not all monarchs are unpalatable, so some can still be eaten. The cardiac glycoside levels are higher in the abdomen and wings, and some predators can differentiate between these parts and consume the most palatable ones. So, since the abdomen and wings have the higher levels, it can try to eat like the heads or whatnot, or the thorax, I guess. Then the overwintering adults become less toxic over time, making them more vulnerable to predators as they age. And then I just wanted to add on here that there is a white morph of the monarch in Hawaii called the white monarch, and I have a picture right here of it, which is pretty. So, distribution. Of course, we've talked about it before. I'm sure you probably guessed, butterflies are distributed worldwide except in Antarctica, totaling some 18,500 species. And the monarch butterfly is native to the Americas, but in the 19th century or before, were spread across the world and are now found in all these different places that I named before already. The adults may have been blown by wind, or the larvae or pupae may have been accidentally transported by humans, because we seem to do that. And the presence of suitable host plants and their new environment was necessary for their successful establishment. So, because is milkweed in a lot of different places, a lot of different type of milkweeds, monarchs were able to just like, oh, we can live here. That's basically how it was. And like I said, butterflies, of course, are all over the world. So, migration we will talk about because many butterflies migrate long distances, and these migrations take over a number of generations. So, not one butterfly will make it the whole trip. Sometimes it'll be multiple generations. The eastern North American population of monarchs can travel thousands of miles southwest to the overwintering sites in Mexico. Then also the British Painted Lady, which undertakes a 9,000-mile round trip in a series of steps by up to 6 generations from tropical Africa to the Arctic Circle, almost double the length of the famous migrations undertaken by the monarch. So even though the monarch does a large, long distance trip, the British Painted Lady completely blows it out of the water. And we'll talk about the Painted Lady in just a moment. But here I have a picture of over in Mexico, which is a tree that is covered by monarchs in the overwintering site. So let's go over a few different butterfly species. So let's go over one of my favorites. The monarch is probably my favorite, but this is probably right up there. Is the eastern tiger swallowtail. So I have a picture here of them. So at the top we have a picture of the caterpillar, and it has an eye spot here you can see, and it's brown, and I know it can turn green later on. Then we have the pupae, which you might think looks like a branch on a tree, which is very good camouflage for it. And then we have here, which are a picture of the adults right next to me. But let's go ahead and go over some of the stuff first. So, host plants of the eastern tiger swallowtail are actually quite a few. So, it's wild black cherry, ash, cottonwood, wafer ash or hop tree, common lilac, sweet bay magnolia, tulip tree, and willows. So, they actually have quite a few different host plants. A species of butterfly native to eastern North America and southern Ontario, Canada. It is one of the most familiar butterflies in the eastern United States. It flies from spring until fall, during which it produces 2 to 3 broods. The wingspan measures 7.9 to 14 centimeters, or 3.1 to 5.5 inches. And the yellow morph is similar to the male, but with bands of blue spots along the hind wings, while the dark morph is almost completely black. You can see the top here with just the yellow and black is the male variant. And then if you look at the bottom one there, which is yellow-black and also has the blue on the very bottom, is the female. So after molting, the fourth instar of the caterpillar becomes green. So this brown one up here will become green at the very end. And the swollen thorax has 2 black, yellow, and blue eye spots, like we said before. And then the adult lifespan of these are around 12 days. So as a butterfly, you'll only see them around for around 12 days. Next, we have the painted lady, which I told you we would talk about a little bit. I have the caterpillar here, then the chrysalis pupa form, and then the adult up top. So the host plants of these are asters, thistles, daisies, sunflowers, etc., etc. It uses over 300 recorded host species. So again, I can't name them all. It's the most widespread of all butterfly species, and the wingspan is around 2 to 3.5 inches or 5 to 9 centimeters. It's found on every continent except Antarctica and South America. It undertakes the 9,000-mile round trip that I talked about, and as you can see a picture down here below, you can see how it goes from Africa, tropical Africa, to the Arctic Circle, up into Europe. Okay, it goes from Africa up into Europe to the Arctic Circle. It has a unique system of continuous mating throughout all seasons, including the winter. This is because they migrate to warmer locations to survive and reproduce, allowing them the opportunity to continually reproduce throughout their migration. So they never stop reproducing because they will go like, oh, Africa is nice and warm, we'll reproduce here. As it warms up in Europe, they'll go into Europe and start breeding there. And then as it starts getting cooler in Europe, they will move back down to Africa where they will continue to mate. So, pretty cool. The females will lay their eggs on plants with nectar immediately available for the adult, even if it leads to high mortality for the larvae. So they don't really care where they lay their eggs. They just lay their eggs, okay? As long as there's food there for the adult, they'll lay their egg and worry about the consequences later because they continue to reproduce all the time. The adult lifespan of these is only 2 to 4 weeks long. Then we have large blue, or large blue butterfly. This host plant is wild thyme, and it feeds on the seeds and flowers of the plant. It can be found in Europe and then all these other places that I am terrible at pronouncing, so I'm not even going to try. But in the 1979, the species became mostly extinct in Britain, but has been successfully reintroduced with new conservation methods. And I wasn't going to point out the pictures at top until I got to this point because it is a brood parasite with a single species of red ant. So the caterpillar will trick the ant into taking them back to the ant nest, where it will either become a predator on the ant larvae, eating the ant larvae, or it will pretend to be an ant larvae and beg for food by acting like the ant larvae. So it'll either be fed or it will eat. Results from laboratories estimate that it requires 230 large larvae and a minimum of 354 workers are needed to ensure the survival of one butterfly species. And that's a lot of ants. And it's also mentioned inside the scientific results that it is highly unlikely that one ant colony will have that many ant larvae and workers. So it's expected that the butterfly larvae, the caterpillar, would wait in the colony until another one moves in, or it would move to another colony, try to find another one, where it will then eat out that entire colony. So, pretty weird ant species, pretty weird caterpillar species, butterfly species, to say the least. The caterpillar will grow to about half an inch or 13 millimeters in length and spend up to 9 months before they will undergo metamorphosis. The wingspan of these will reach 2 inches, and the lifespan of the adult is only a few weeks. And now that I've kind of burst the bubble that it eats ants, you can look at the pictures up here at top. So we have the larvae here right next to an ant larvae, which it looks like it's probably going to eat. Then we have the pupae, or the chrysalis form of them, where they are living. And then we have the large blue butterfly in all its glory. So I just want to point out that these ants never notice that the caterpillar is not an ant larvae. I mean, there might be some that it do, okay? But this species has survived, and it continues to live with ants. So I'm guessing most of the caterpillars end up surviving. I just have to think that at some point the ant's sitting here, and it's like, there's less larvae around here. I wonder what happened to them all. Oh yeah, there's also that big old one sitting there that keeps getting bigger and never turns into an ant. So I have to think these ants at some point think something's wrong. I don't know for sure if they do. I'm sure they probably don't. But at one point they probably sit there. It's like, that one's getting pretty big. Next we have the Queen Alexandra's birdwing, which has a host plant of the pipe vine, a certain type of pipe vine, not all. It's the largest species of butterfly in the world, and it's named in honor of Alexander of Denmark. The females of these reach a wingspan slightly in excess of 25 to 28 centimeters, or 10 to 11 inches. So, biggest butterfly in the world. Very, very big. They are restricted to the forests of the Oro province in New Guinea, and it is the first specimen was taken with aid of a shotgun. That is kind of an insane little like fact, I guess, that the first one of these was taken with a shotgun. They shot it down with a shotgun. A big butterfly they shot with a shotgun. just kind of weird. I just wanted to add that. It is capable of laying over 240 eggs throughout its life, and the adult lifespan is around 3 months, which is pretty long for a butterfly, but it's a big butterfly, so. So then I have a picture here of the caterpillar, then also of the pupae, chrysalis, and then also of the adults. So the top brown one is, of course, the female, and then the bottom one that is iridescent, kind of greenish blue, is the male. And then behind me here, I have a picture of a pipe vine that they live on. Then we have the common brimstone, or common brimstone butterfly, or sometimes even just called brimstone. Um, so I have some pictures here of them. They stay pretty green throughout their life, from the caterpillar to the pupa to the adult form. So the host plant for these is alder buckthorn and also common buckthorn. Those are the only two that I could find that is actually a host plant. The wingspan of these is around 2.4 to 2.9 inches, and they have the longest lifespan of butterflies at 12 months. So I had to add these on here because they are the longest lived butterfly, but 12 months is insane. They last a whole year. So individuals have been seen from Western Europe to East Asia, and the adult brimstone will travel to woodland areas to spend 7 months overwintering. Then, in the spring, when their host plants have developed, they'll return to the wetlands to breed and lay eggs. Males and females differ in times when they reach maturity. So, reproductive development of males begin just after they emerge from their pupa, and that continues during the hibernation. But for females, eggs remain undeveloped as the butterfly overwinters, and no reproductive development occurs until after emergence from hibernation. So, if you look above me here, at the very top with the neon yellow wings here, we have the male. And then on the bottom, which is the less neon green, the less neon wings, is the female. The I guess sexual maturity, males will mature much, much faster because they will mature throughout the 7 month hibernation, whereas females will only develop after the hibernation is over. So, pretty cool that there's a butterfly that can live 12 months. I mean, most of them last like from like a week to 3 months, whereas this one's like instantly 12 months, which 7 months of it is in hibernation. But still pretty cool. But that is all I had for butterflies. I could have added tons and tons and tons of more butterfly species. But that would have lasted a long, long, long time. So I just cut this down to just a few that were like the outliers or the most known or the most dispersed ones or the most threatened. Kind of like the Queen Alexandra's birdwing. It's like a threatened species. So, but it's pretty cool. I started doing this. I started looking up butterflies and host plants for butterflies because I started making like a butterfly kind of like garden area at my house. Let me see. Let me get to the host species. Host plants. Oh, so many slides. But I started making a little butterfly garden at my house. So, of course, I have milkweed art at my house. But, like, Thistles also are, of course, there, so painted ladies are fine. But I started planting some dill around my house, and then I also got a pipe vine that actually had started growing at my grandma's house because she already has some swallowtails there, the pipe vine swallowtails. So I was like, well, I can just grab a pipe vine from there, and hopefully I can get them to come at my house. But willows, pawpaws, ashes, asters, coneflowers, I don't really have most of those at my house. So I'm going to try to get some more. Um, but yeah, I started looking up host plants, and I'm like, you know what? I can just do an educational video this month on butterflies. So I hope you all enjoyed that. Possibly whenever I get some butterflies around my house, I can possibly post maybe another video of them flying around, or of possibly if I get some caterpillars, I could raise some caterpillars, and I could do like a video of them growing up, kind of like a speed up of them, like, oh, this is them at 1 day, 2 day, 10 days, up to butterfly. So I think that'd be pretty cool. I actually do have a little kit that if I find some caterpillars, I could grow some. Uh, but yeah, I'm really excited for this year, as you can see. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed. I hope that you learned quite a bit about butterflies. I really did like learning about. It's right here. Can butterflies remember experiences they've learned as a caterpillar? I had heard of this scientific experiment done a while ago, and I had to look it back up for this video because I had to add it in there because I thought it was kind of cool that caterpillars, even though they turn into almost completely liquid when they're in their chrysalis, they can still remember stuff. I thought that's pretty cool. Um, yeah, I think that's all I had. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned more about butterflies, and I hope you are, I guess, excited to see more flowers and butterflies this year and the spring to summer, and I guess some stay till fall. I think the eastern swallowtail. I think that one stayed till fall. But yeah. Anywho, I've talked long enough. Thank you for stopping by for this month's educational video. Again, we'll have another one next month. I don't know what it is. I'll try to come up with one before then. But thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you guys next time. So, bye-bye.